Owning a classic car does something subtle to the way you drive. At first, you think you're just learning how to keep an old machine alive, but somewhere along the way, without any formal training or advanced driving courses, your habits start to change, and oddly enough, they tend to make you a better driver. Even when you're back in something modern and sensible, here are 3 of them. The first habit is listening. Classic cars demand it. A modern car filters everything out for you, the noises, the vibrations, the feedback. But an older machine doesn't bother with subtle hints. A slight change in engine note on an old Alfa, a new vibration through the wheel of an MG, or a gearbox that suddenly feels a little less cooperative in a Porsche from the 90s. These are all conversations, and if you ignore them, the car will escalate the discussion. So you learn to listen, to notice, to anticipate, and that habit sticks. You become the kind of driver who feels what the car is doing instead of just reacting when something goes wrong. The second habit is looking further ahead. Classic brakes are, how shall we put this, optimistic. Whether you're in an early Jaguar, a Triumph with a personality, or anything Italian that prefers enthusiasm over urgency, you very quickly learn that last-second decisions are a terrible idea. You start reading the road earlier, you spot traffic building long before it becomes a problem. You leave space, you plan, not because you're being virtuous, but because it's easier than standing on a brake pedal that was designed in another century. And once you've learned that skill, you never really lose it. Even in a modern car with enormous brakes and a dozen safety systems, you're calmer, smoother, and far less rushed. The third habit is mechanical sympathy. Classic cars reward gentleness. They don't like being rushed when they're cold. They don't appreciate aggressive gear changes. And they absolutely remember if you've been unkind to them. So you adapt, you warm things up properly, you shift more smoothly, you drive with intention rather than impatience. Whether it's a softly sprung French saloon, a slightly grumpy British roadster, or an air-cooled Porsche that prefers things done just so, you learn that respect goes a long way. And here's the interesting part, that mindset transfers. You drive modern cars more smoothly, you waste less energy, you feel less stressed, you arrive more relaxed, even if you didn't arrive any faster. So yes, classic cars leak, rattle, and occasionally test your commitment to the hobby, but in return, they quietly train you to be more attentive, more patient, and more aware behind the wheel. Not bad for something with no driver aids, questionable reliability, and an owner's manual that assumes you already know what you're doing. Sometimes the best driving lessons don't come from technology. They come from old machines that simply ask you to pay attention.